The door to my oceanfront home in La Jolla swung open, and there they were, two faces I hadn't seen in 13 years. My daughter, Sabrina, and her husband Colin stood awkwardly on the threshold, wearing stiff smiles and eyes full of badly hidden panic. Their glances flicked past me into my place, the buttery Italian leather couch, the 70-inch TV, the wall of glass framing a Pacific horizon that looked like freedom painted in motion. "Mom," Sabrina breathed, voice quivering, "we need to talk." For 13 long years, they had erased me as neatly as deleting a contact. No calls, no holidays, no introductions to my own grandkids. And now, after I'd purchased this multi-million-dollar San Diego beach house outright, they appeared like revenants drifting back at the first whiff of money. I took them in quietly. Colin kept angling his head to inventory the room, like a broker. Sabrina wore a washed-out green dress that had seen too many cycles, and her faux leather flats were spidered with cracks that screamed short funds. Stress furrowed her brow. Her hands trembled at her sides. "Talk?" I repeated, strangely calm. How fascinating that after 12 years of silence, now is the time. Color drained from their faces. Colin tugged at a wrinkled shirt, as if smoothing cloth could iron out reality. Desperation clung to them like sea mist. While they'd played at family and comfortable restaurants, I'd survived by selling pies and sweets at the Little Italy Mercato and the Hillcrest Farmers Market. Sundays, I stood under a blazing sun, smiling at kind strangers who treasured my baking more than my own blood did. The work roughened my hands, bent my back, but never broke my pride. Cinnamon and vanilla still lived in my best memories. Notes of toasted coconut, caramel catching at just the right shade. Back when Sabrina was small and swore I was the best cook in the entire world. That time belonged to a different woman, one who still believed family love came with no expiration date. The unraveling was slow. Sabrina met Colin at a company mixer when she was a receptionist. He was all charm, performative politeness, calling me dear mother-in-law, with a smile that never reached his eyes, complimenting my Christmas casseroles while plotting a gap between us. Weekends Sabrina planned to visit magically collided with his urgent work. Afternoon check-ins ended with him answering, promising Sabrina would call me back. She never did. Messages vanished. Invitations must have gotten lost. Plans dissolved at the last minute for increasingly silly reasons. The slights hid as oversights. Her MBA graduation. "Mom, we assumed you already had plans. The first baby shower? Just close college friends? Very intimate. First communion? So rushed we forgot to tell you." Each excuse felt like being stabbed with a bow-wrapped dagger. I smiled, said I understood, and told myself next time would be different. It never was. My phone sat silent like a headstone. Sundays lengthened into gray. I cooked for one. I chatted with framed photos. I jabbed a single candle into a store-bought cake from Morales Bakery and lied to Mr. Morales when he asked about Sabrina. She's just so busy. But on this threshold, with Pacific wind threading salt through my hair, I saw them clearly. "Come in," I said, waving them toward the cream leather couch that cost more than they'd seen together in years. "I imagine you have a lot to share." Colin straightened, assuming his important man posture. "Vivian, we know it's been a few years." 12, I cut in. "Not a few. 12 years since you decided I didn't exist." Sabrina's eyes pooled. but I'd cried enough nights alone to be immune to weaponized tears. Mom, we never met. Things got complicated. Colin's job, the kids, the grandchildren I've never met, I said, feeling old anger simmer to a boil. Children who grew up without a grandmother who would have loved them without question. Routine kept me sane all those years. Up at 5, butter cut into flour, caramel watched like a hawk, timers never forgiven. My recipes became my lifeline. Sundays at the market were my therapy. Widowed women, estranged mothers, discarded elders. We traded stories over sweet slices. Marisol, a 72-year-old widow, became my confidant. Kids think we vanish when they marry, she'd say, buying pies for her neighbors. Funny how fast they remember us when they're in trouble. Her words echoed as I watched Sabrina wring her hands, while Colin appraised my life like inventory. Calls grew scripted over the first married years. Colin's throat clearing cut our talks like a blade. Once, when Sabrina thought she'd hung up, I heard him mutter, "Your mom's always got drama." My mother doesn't bother us with her problems. My loneliness had become mere problems to him. My need to be part of my daughter's life, recast as clutter. Invitations dwindled to 0. Thanksgiving, small this year. Christmas, kids are sick. Birthdays, Colin's work is crazy. Sabrina learned to make every no sound reasonable, temporary, for my rest. As if solitude were a luxury I'd ordered. The calendar flipped, unread. Mondays, apple pies. Tuesdays, jewel-bright gelatins. Wednesdays, fudge cakes that sold in minutes. Thursdays, muffins scenting my apartment. Fridays, pumpkin turnovers. Saturdays, prep. Sundays, the market, the ladies, the laughter that filled the hollow for a while. And the nights, the ones so quiet I thought I'd drown in it. Holidays with TV specials and a tiny artificial tree I decorated alone. New Year's with lukewarm bubbles and a fresh hope that never came true. Parks full of families hurt the most. Grandmas crowing about grandkids. Toy aisles I wandered, wondering what mine liked. I knew them only by fuzzy social posts, viewed from a dummy account like a spy in my own life. Mom, Sabrina said softly, dragging me back, we made mistakes. Mistakes? I shot back. Erasing your mother for 12 years is not a mistake. It's a decision. Denying my grandchildren their grandmother is not a stumble. It's cruelty. Colin shifted, finally sensing the script wasn't working. His eyes kept counting my things, recalculating his angle. These weren't accidents, I said, after years of swallowed truths. They were deliberate. You tossed me like junk you'd outgrown. Sabrina sobbed harder. The old me would have folded. The woman who stood here now did not. Please let us explain, she tried. Explain why I wasn't there for first steps? For loose teeth? Why I cooked 12 Christmas dinners for no one while you made memories without me? Colin put on his patronizing tone. Vivian, families need space to grow. It wasn't personal. I laughed, bitter and shocked at the sound of it. Not personal. You turned my daughter into a stranger and decided I didn't belong. I remembered the day she delivered the verdict. Rain on the Mission Valley windows. Sabrina came in cold, distant. Mom, Colin and I think we need less contact, she said, ignoring the coffee I'd made. You're not welcome at our place for a while. Please don't call so much. We need space to be a family without interference. Interference. As if I were a nosy neighbor, not the woman who carried her, sat through fevers, and worked double shifts to put her through school. What did I do? I whispered. How did I fail you? It's not about wrong, Mom, she said, voice hollow. It's what's best for my marriage and children. Colin needs to know I put our nuclear family first. Anyone else. That's what I became. Not mother, not grandmother. A problem. Colin says mothers in law cause issues. He says boundaries are best, Colin said. Colin thought. Colin needed. Somewhere, my daughter's heartbeat had been replaced by his metronome. And what about you, Sabrina? What do you think? I asked. Silence. Then, the script. Colin is right. You can live your life without worrying about us. That was our last real conversation. After that, I received sterile texts. Hope you're well, Mom. Happy birthday. Happy New Year. Like automated messages from a soulless brand. Those months were the darkest. I lost weight, lost sleep, lost hope. Every morning I expected to wake and find it had been a nightmare. The phone stayed mute. Marisol saved me. She showed up one Sunday after I'd spent 3 days in bed with crackers and iced tea. Up, she said. You can die slowly for a daughter who doesn't deserve you. Or you can build a life that does. She scrubbed with me, filed recipes with me, mapped a tiny business with me. If you're going to hurt, she grinned, hurt productively. So I baked my way back. Each pie, a step toward dignity. Each happy customer, a win. Each dollar, proof I had value, even if my family refused to see it. The market ladies became my chosen family. Trade wins and truth. My son calls me dramatic for missing him, said Joanna, tasting mango gelée. It's not drama. It's hunger for love from the people you made. Sitting now in a space that cost more than Sabrina and Colin owned combined, I remembered every tear, every candle blown alone, and looked at these two, small and desperate, asking for something after a decade of nothing. So, I said evenly, what brings you to my door? They traded a look. Colin cleared his throat. Vivian. The truth is, we're in real trouble. Trouble, I repeated slowly, tasting the irony. What a coincidence. You show up the moment life pinches hard. Colin launched his speech. The construction company folded 6 months ago. We lost our savings. The house is in foreclosure. Sabrina had to quit to watch the kids. No daycare. We're with my parents, but they're strapped too. Sabrina nodded rapidly, as if the more she agreed, the faster my heart would open. Mom, the kids ask why they don't have their own room, why Dad's angry, why I cry. Oh, I said, reclining in buttery leather. So now I'm useful. Now I exist. In 12 years, I'd learned to read subtext like sheet music. The ladies at market taught me. Children return when life hits. Not out of love, but convenience. It's not like that, Sabrina protested, voice cracking. We've always loved you. We always thought of you, the circumstances. Let's talk circumstances, I said. When your eldest had pneumonia 8 years ago, where was I? When your middle broke his arm, did you call? When your youngest struggled at school, did you ask your mother for help? Her silence answered. We knew you were struggling, Colin said, grasping. We didn't want to burden you when you were barely getting by. I let the audacity sit. When I was poor, I wasn't worth the call. Now with wealth, Suddenly, I mattered. Right, I said. So I wasn't good enough then. But now that I'm comfortable, you remembered my name. They couldn't know what had changed. 3 months back, while I mixed crust, a lawyer called. My father's sister, Aunt Joan, had passed in Del Mar, the black sheep, the one who left and never returned. Turns out she'd built a fortune quietly, sold a Del Mar bungalow for $1.5 million, left $500,000 in accounts, $2 million in investments. Overnight, I went from counting quarters to counting commas. But her letter mattered most. In shaky handwriting, she wrote that she'd followed my life online, seen the loneliness, the abandonment, the grit. She left it all to me, she said, because she knew what it was to be discarded and underestimated, and to refuse to break. Live as the queen you are, she wrote, not the beggar they decided you were. I bought this La Jolla home, slept with the windows cracked to let the waves pull regret out of my ribs. Mom, Sabrina said, stepping closer. I lifted a hand and she stopped. We made terrible choices, she said, but we're family. Blood? I laughed sharp. Blood without respect is water. Colin shifted into practiced vulnerability. We understand your pain, but the kids are innocent. They shouldn't suffer for our mistakes. There it was, the ultimate lever. Grandchildren, the softest target. They thought saying, the kids, would undo me. The same kids who were taught for 12 years that their grandmother did not exist, I asked. The same kids who were denied a woman who would have adored them? Sabrina's tears turned heavier, maybe the first honest ones. Colin said it was best for marriage, that mothers-in-law cause issues. Colin said, I repeated, eyes on him. Colin thought. Colin decided. Where was your voice, Sabrina? It got lost, she whispered, between promises and fear. But now I see what it cost us. The kids ask why they don't have a grandma. Their friends do. It hurt like a clean cut, but pain didn't rule me anymore. Do you have any idea how many birthdays I missed? I asked. How many nights I lay awake, trying to picture their laughter? How many toys I bought and boxed, waiting for a knock that never came? Colin pivoted. We can fix it, he said smoothly. They can meet you. You can be in their lives. We can be a family again. A family that remembers me only when there's a price tag attached, I asked. Silence filled the glass, and air and sea. The view reminded me of what I'd built without them. In these months by the water, I'd rebuilt routines. Seagulls woke me, not loneliness. I brewed coffee on high-end steel instead of counting quarters over a hot plate. I walked the tide line at sunset, wind in my hair instead of regret on my back. Marisol moved into a nearby condo. Together, we formed a circle for women whose families had abandoned them. Wednesday afternoons, my living room filled with stories, strategies, and still warm bars. Freedom, Marisol said once, is realizing you don't need the approval of the people who broke you. For the first time in decades, I lived for me. Not for phantom calls, not for meals no one ate, not for holidays that never came. Mom, Sabrina whispered at my chair, I don't deserve forgiveness. I know, but if you help us now, I swear I'll be different. Different until the foreclosure stops, I said evenly. Different until Colin decides I'm interfering again. Colin snapped, Mask slipping. Enough with the head games, he barked. We get it. We were wrong. We're here to make it right. What do you want? Exactly what I'd waited for. The truth under the performance. What I want, I said quietly, is 12 years back. First steps, first words, first days of school. I crossed to a shelf and lifted a photo. Sabrina at 5, tooth gap grin wrapped around my leg like it was an anchor. This little girl loved me like sunlight, I said. Where did she go? Sabrina stared at the photo as if it were a mirror from another world. She grew up, she whispered, voice cracking. She became a woman too weak to defend the best thing she had. Exactly, I said, replacing the frame. And now, she's here for money. Not because she found her strength and voice. Colin stood hard, anger showing. Maybe you are too dramatic, he spat. Maybe it was better we kept the peace. I smiled, genuinely. There he was, the real man, the one who taught my daughter that a mother's love was messy, not sacred. Sabrina turned to him, horror dawning. Greg, do you really call my mom's pain drama? She's manipulating you, he snapped, voice brittle. No, Sabrina said, finding steel I hadn't heard in years. She's finally being honest about what we did. I watched as cracks raced through the old power dynamic like lightning through glass. Sabrina, I asked softly, do you notice that even now he's policing your reaction instead of owning what you both did? She looked at him with new eyes. You're still more focused on being right than doing right, she whispered. Let's stay on the problem, Colin insisted, but his authority was gone. Our problem, I repeated. Colin, your bankruptcy isn't mine. Your house note isn't mine. Your failed bets aren't mine. Silence settled like dust motes in a sunbeam. They had no guarantee they wouldn't vanish again once their crisis passed, and they knew it. In these months, I said, I learned peace has a price, and I paid it. Chosen solitude beats bad company every time. Mom, Sabrina said, raw, what can I do? How do I earn back your love? My love never left. I answered gently. You turned it transactional. That's the tragedy. Colin seized the last lever. If you don't help, the kids lose their home, their school. They'll struggle. Can you sleep knowing that? The children will suffer, I said quietly, because of their parents' choices, not because I won't erase consequences. You created this. Sabrina broke, sobbing, from a place deeper than money. What can I do? She begged. Tell me how to fix it. Some choices don't get fixes, I said softly. Some have lasting costs. You decided I wasn't valuable when life was good. You can't ask me to think you're valuable now because life is bad. Colin's anger curdled. You know what? You were a mistake to begin with, he hissed. Sabrina's better off without your theatrics. Thank you, I said, smiling, for proving exactly who you are. Sabrina recoiled. Greg, did you really just... She's playing you, he snapped. We need the money. Our family, I said, walking to the door, was broken 12 years ago when you decided a mother's love was a threat. Mom, please, Sabrina faltered, trailing me. If you help, I'll be different. I'll set boundaries. I'll protect us. You're promising miracles under pressure you couldn't manage for 12 years, I said, hand on the knob. Why should I believe crisis makes you new? Colin tried one last bluff. You'll regret this. We'll tell everyone you abandoned your family. You forget, I said lightly. San Diego's a small, big city. People already know me, what I did to survive, what I didn't say about you. They'll learn the rest now. Sabrina paused at the threshold. In her eyes, I saw something I hadn't in years. Respect, shaken, painful, late. Mom, she whispered, I hope one day we can heal. Forgiveness frees me, I said. I've already let the weight go. What's left is for you to live with the outcomes of your choices. Colin stormed to their scuffed sedan. Sabrina followed, glancing back as if words might return if she tried hard enough. They drove off, small against the wide Pacific. They'd entered my life for themselves and left the same way. I closed the door. Silence wrapped the room like a blessing. No scripts, no barbs, just peace. I poured a glass of white wine and stepped onto the terrace as the sky melted gold to rose over flat blue water. My phone buzzed. Marisol. How'd it go with the surprise guest? She asked, voice wry. Exactly as we guessed, I said, exhaling. They came for money, not love. And how do you feel? I watched a gull carve figure eights over the surf. Free, I said, entirely, completely free. That night, I walked the beach beneath a scatter of stars, cool sand between my toes, the tide sounding like a heartbeat. I had chosen peace over blood-tide chaos, and the ocean whispered approval. In the following days, word traveled as expected. But the chorus in town didn't shame me. It supported me. The market ladies shared similar stories. You did right, Vivian, Mr. Morales told me when I stopped in. Self-respect teaches respect. 2 months later, a text from Sabrina. Mom, I'm in therapy, learning about toxic dynamics and boundaries. When I'm truly ready to be the daughter you deserve, I hope you'll consider knowing me again. I love you. I didn't reply right away. I saved it. Then I watered my bougainvillea, led our Wednesday circle, and watched the sun fold into the sea. Maybe one day she'll find her real voice. Maybe we'll rebuild on respect instead of need. If not, my life is still whole. Money brought me comfort, but that wasn't the gift. The real gift was choice. Who gets my time, my energy, my love? And at last, I'm choosing wisely. If you enjoyed my story, you can support me with a super thanks so I can write more like this. Thank you in advance. What about you? What would you do in this person's shoes? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them. And tell me where you heard this story. For more true-to-life stories, like the video and subscribe to my channel. Many more are waiting. Big hugs, and see you next time.